Hello everyone, my name's Lindsay and I work for Skills Development Scotland in the My World of Work Live team. My World of Work Live is about helping young people like you understand what jobs Scotland are going to need in the future and to help you develop the skills that you'll need for them. Today we're going to cover a quick overview of the social services and healthcare sector. We're going to have a look at the opportunities within this sector and we're going to introduce you to our experts today. We'll also allow you to ask questions to our experts, so please start submitting these via the Q&A box on your screen or ask your teacher to do this. I'd encourage you to get involved as much as possible, so ask us questions as we go through and we'll try and answer as many as we can. I'd also like to let you know that today's session has been recorded, so young people who couldn't make it today can still access the resources. It will be available for everyone to watch on the My World of Work YouTube channel, and that means you can go back and rewatch everything that's talked about today. Don't worry, everything you ask will be anonymous and you can select that option on our Q&A box. So before I introduce you to today's experts, let's have a look at the social services and healthcare sector. So, within the social services and healthcare sector, there are nearly 210,000 people working in social services. This includes early years, adult social care and social work services. So that's actually about 8% of all Scottish workers. That's a huge amount of people. 64% of all social service workers are employed in adult daycare, care homes, care at home and housing support services. Personal assistants are known to be around 5,000, but this could be more and they're not included in these numbers. There's even more social workers than we have statistics on. There's also over 3,500 adult social care services in Scotland, and most of these advertise vacancies every year. The average starting salary for an adult social care worker is between £19,000 to £20,000 per year, and the minimum wage is expected to increase to £10.2 per hour. You can get into social care through college, an apprenticeship, university, or for applying for jobs and gaining an SVQ in work. And it's important to remember that a lot of people start a career without a qualification and they gain this through their employment. So I'm now going to introduce you to Sean, who works for HSC Futures and who's Associate Assessor and Verifier, and Sean also works for Scottish Autism. So I'll let Sean go through his slide and introduce himself to you all. So, hello Sean.
Hello. How is everyone? Right, yes, I'm Sean McKenna. I have worked in social care for over 30 years. Well, social and healthcare. Started off as a nurse and then moved to the social care sector in the late 90s. During that time, I have worked in the front line as an autism practitioner. I've worked in forensics and then moved on to basically being a trainer, because I felt that the years of experience I had as a nurse and working on a front line in health and social care would be best put to use by sharing the knowledge that I had, and also continue learning as well. In this job, it's a continuous process. You learn every day, especially when you work with people that have autism, because autism is a spectrum disorder, so there are no starting points and no ending points on this, and every person that has it is unique and different, and that's what makes this job special. So in working with Scottish Autism, every shift that I go on is different every day. There's no monotony in it at all. You go in, you expect things to be different, and things are different, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's good. It's a rewarding job. It can be challenging occasionally. Now, I could have said at times, but it is occasionally. You do get people that have challenging behaviour, and usually this behaviour is centred around the fact that they are unable to communicate properly what is wrong with them. They may have a headache, they may just want to go and do their favourite activity, or they want to watch their favourite TV programme, but they're unable to tell you. So frustration may kick in, and they tell you in the only way that they know how. Okay, and everybody's different as to how they do that. As far as the training part goes, when you come into this job, you will have probably no experience at all, apart from life experience, okay? But you learn on the job as you go. That's where the SVQ comes in. It starts at level 6, which is SVQ level 2, and you progress through that to level 3 and 4 if you decide to make this a career for yourself. I hope this helps. It's a bit of a summary of the things that I do.
Great, thanks, Sean. Thanks for going over that. I'm now going to kick off with a few questions. So would you like to answer any questions our audience have today? So I'd encourage you all again to submit some questions via the Q&A box, and we'll start asking some questions to Sean. So Sean, I'll start with a question we've got in that is, what tasks do you have to do day to day? I imagine it'd be quite different day to day for you.
Yeah, the tasks depends on the service user. I'm going to refer to them as service users because they're purchasing the service from us. It depends on them and what their needs are. If you work with a service user who's very, very much independent, a lot of the times it's just a case of following their routines as far as prompting them as to what's coming next or what's on their planner, to someone that maybe needs a lot more care, where you could be doing things like personal care, making food, taking them out, things like that. So yeah, it does vary day to day depending on the client that you're working with.
Yep, absolutely. So off the back of that question, what skills do you think are most important to do your job?
Good communication, and being a people person, someone that's not afraid to engage with others, and be friendly and be interested in the person and their needs. But yeah, communication is a big thing.
Definitely, and being able to adapt that communication, I'm guessing, based on who you're working with.
That's right, yeah, yeah. I mean, on the job again as well, we need to learn different communication skills, and that's basically up to the employer basically to make these skills available through training.
Absolutely. So as a young person watching today, what subjects would you recommend that I could do at school to help me get into a sector like this?
Basically, I would just be looking at the basic skills that you need for any real job, maths and English. Although there is no stipulation on any applications that you have these things, but certainly being a good communicator is a big part of this job. Basic maths is fine, especially when you may be handling service users' money, you know, and having to account for any spends during the day. So yeah, these are the two basic things, and probably just as important, IT skills, good IT skills. Most reporting these days is done electronically rather than writing things down.
Yeah, definitely. I think those are all really important subjects as well, just in general. So what is the most enjoyable part of your job, and also what do you find the most challenging?
Well, the most enjoyable part of the job is seeing, as far as a trainer is concerned, is when people pass their vocational awards, i.e. their SVQs, and the joy that brings them, and the fact that they've got themselves a recognised, qualified what's the word I'm looking for? Well,
Qualification.
Yeah, qualification. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the most enjoyable. And I mean, I have seen hundreds of people go through the SVQ process over the last 15, 16 years that I've been doing this. You know, hundreds of people. So yeah, and occasionally I bump into them and they all seem to be doing quite well, you know. Most enjoyable part as a frontline worker is seeing the independence of the service user get better as time goes by, when they've set themselves goals and they reach those goals. Now, those goals could be anything really very, very simple goals that might be difficult for them, but things that we can do quite easily more as able-bodied people throughout the day. Anything from you know, just being able to make a cup of tea, you know, to being able to go out into the community on public transport. Okay. The challenging parts, yeah, as a trainer, could be where people have issues during the SVQ as far as understanding what is required, or they maybe have issues with their written or verbal skills, such as dyslexia and things like that. Although they're challenging, I have to say that I give everybody individual support and as much help as is possible with these things. And again, it's a barrier, but it's a barrier that we always manage to break through, and the person qualifies just the same as anyone else. It just may mean that they need a little bit more time, and that's fine. In the job, the challenging parts could be dealing with challenging behaviour from a service user who, as I said earlier, may have issues with communication or articulating what they want to do or what they want from you. I mean, you and I, if we have a headache, we'll say, oh, I've got a headache, I'll go and take a couple of paracetamol. A lot of the time, the service users are unable to tell us that in that manner. So you spend a lot of time trying to guess what the issues are. Okay, and meantime, they're getting more and more upset, and it does present a challenge. And I have to be honest, sometimes we don't always get those challenges right, but we do our best to make sure that the service users are not suffering.
Absolutely. And that's a skill within itself, being able to adapt the way you're working to support that person as well. So that's amazing. So we've got some young people asking if they need to go to college or uni to get into this kind of career.
Well, that depends on how you want to follow your career. I mean, if you're looking basically to come in at ground level, as I call it, as a support worker or an autism practitioner or social care worker, then you don't need to go to university. You can go to college if you want and get your qualification before you come into this field, but you can learn on the job. There are no entry level qualifications that is needed, just basic schooling, as I said earlier. So you can learn on the job, and there are many ways where you can access training either through university or college, or as I said, through the vocational route, through your SVQs, which means you're learning on the job.
Yeah, amazing, thank you. So someone's asking, is there anyone who influenced you to start a career in this industry?
No particular person. What really interested me the most in starting the career was the fact that all of a sudden, during the late 80s and early 90s, I was starting to see people, that have needs or disabilities coming more into the community, being involved in community life, being part of society and being included in society was what influenced me to say, you know, I'd like to help these people further. I'd like to use my life skills to try and introduce them to them and make their life skills just as independent as mine.
That's amazing, thank you. So we've got a wee question from our audience is, do you get to know your service users quite well?
Yes, yes. But there's a fine line between getting to know them quite well and becoming too embroiled or passionate in their everyday life. And that can work both ways. Service users can become too dependent on yourself and see you more as a family member. So it's all about being professional and knowing that at the end of your shift, you leave your professional life at the door and you go back to your normal life. It's a difficult concept, especially when you first come into the job, and especially if you're working with the same group of service users weeks, months, even years on end. So yeah, and it can be confusing for them.
Yeah, just about finding that balance is, again, another great skill. So next question, has COVID-19 impacted your job? I know that's a silly question because it's impacted everyone, but...
Yeah, it has impacted everyone. As far as being an assessor verifier is concerned, it's meant that a lot of the practical stuff that I had to do on the job, like assessing as far as observing practice is concerned, had to be sidelined and done by other professionals like line managers, and we use them as what's known as expert witnesses, or we have to use technology, you know, like this. And when you're having what was previously face-to-face meetings, we were doing it like this as well, using many of the online tools like Teams or FaceTime, WhatsApp, Zoom. That's the impact it's had. So it's a negative impact that way because there's no face-to-face engagement with your with the people that you're training with. Candidates, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, it's too early in the morning for me. So yeah, whereas previously you were able to meet face to face, but this is slowly coming back now. It's slowly coming back. In the front line, yeah. If you had people that had COVID, were self-isolating, it caused staff problems. It even caused problems with the service users as far as them understanding why all of a sudden some of them had to wear masks, or why their favourite pub is closed, or why they're not able to go swimming anymore. And that's where the communication comes in as well.
Yeah.
If the communication between yourself and the service user is good and they can understand why things are happening, all the better. But when that doesn't happen, you have to find some other means of letting them know why this is happening. But the biggest impact has to be the staff. You know, that's basically why we're in this position just now, looking for staff. We're at a critical level everywhere in social care. Not just because of COVID-19, but because of Brexit, because we relied in the past on a lot of staff that were from Europe, and a lot of them have gone back home. So, yeah. So it's been quite a challenge.
That's great, Sean. Thank you so much. I think that'll have to be our last question. But I think you've really gave us a good insight into your role and your sector, and all the young people watching, I'm sure, will be very interested in finding out more about it. So unfortunately, we're out of time. So I'll thank Sean again for coming along today and giving us an insight into what he does. I'd also like to thank all of you for joining us today, and I hope you found the session useful and you've learned a lot more about the social services and healthcare sector. So to finish off the session, I just wanted to highlight our careers website for young people, and that is myworldsofwork.co.uk. You can find out more about careers on there, and you'll find lots of information that can help you make choices about your career, and you can find some further inspiration on what to do. Tools on there, and they will help you understand your strengths and let you explore some job profiles. If you're interested in finding about working specifically in this sector, then there are websites available such as Careers in Care that are available for you to explore, and the opportunities that are available to you there as well. And finally, if you're interested in finding out more about apprenticeships, then please head over to apprenticeship.scot and you'll find all of the information available to you there. So thank you for joining today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.